All right, pianist Monty Alexander is here to talk about his new album, Wareika Hill, Rastamonk Vibrations, and to discuss the common ground between jazz and his other lifelong passion, reggae music. I'm Brian Zimmerman. This is the Jazziz Last Call. Okay, and as always, before we get into today's conversation with Monty Alexander, I wanted to let you know about a new album from ECM Records. This one is a trio project by pianist Carla Bley, saxophonist Andy Shepard, and the bassist Steve Swallow. It is called Life Goes On. The centerpiece of this album is this beautiful suite entitled Life Goes On. Just a really nice balance between through composed music and improvisation. There are tighter trios in jazz hardly exist. And this is just a really, really beautiful album. If you'd like to learn more about it for yourself, check out ecmrecords.com. Wanted to also let you know about our new print issue. That would be our summer 2020 issue. It is on newsstands now and has already mailed to subscribers. So print subscribers, this one is in your mailbox or on your coffee table. There's some good news though. All of the articles from this print issue are available as web articles on our website, jazziz.com. Now, you will need a subscription to read them. Fortunately, we're offering a new subscription rate for Jazziz Last Call viewers. For just 99 cents per month for 3 months, you'll receive unlimited digital access to the articles in this digital version and every other digital version. Plus, we'll enroll you to receive one complimentary copy of our next print issue, which is coming out in September. It is the fall 2020 issue, and it is all about the art of the album. Listening to albums, producing albums, collecting albums, album cover art. It's a really cool issue. And again, you sign up now, you get unlimited digital access, plus a complimentary print issue to put on your coffee table come September. You like the subscription, you keep it forever, but you can cancel anytime. But try it risk-free. I know you are going to love it. All right, my guest today is the one and only Monty Alexander, a Grammy-nominated artist whose virtuosic skill at the keyboard and vibrant personality have been packing concert halls around the world for decades. His latest album is Wareika Hill, Rastamonk Vibrations. It's an imaginative, unique, really compelling interpretation of the music of Thelonious Monk. He's here. It's last call. What do you say we go one more round with Monty Alexander? Monty.
Where's my glass?
Hey, man, I should have poured one for you. What was I? I'll send you one.
Okay.
Nice bottle of rum, Jamaican rum.
Next Jamaican rum. Okay.
There you go. Hey, man, as our viewers know, the first thing we do on this show is just a toast. It is last call, after all, to someone, some place, some idea, something. So, Monty, who, what, where, when, why are we toasting with this glass?
We're toasting good thoughts.
Good thoughts.
Positive
Always,
vibrations. Man. We're toasting people of goodwill.
Yes.
Even the other ones too. You know.
That's right.
And we're toasting. Let's stay just in our game. If we're music people, keep it close to your spirit, your heart, and don't forget this too shall pass. So here we are.
That's exactly right. Cheers. Cheers to you. Good vibes, good thoughts, goodwill, man. I like it. So, Monty, how have you been? One of the first things I'd like to ask all our guests is just, times are tough now for musicians with these lockdowns, with these quarantines. So how have you been coping and what have you been up to?
I've been using the time productively. And first and foremost is mentally, And I think back on my adventures of the last many, many years, because it seems like my whole life I've been a traveling, touring, performing piano artist. Mm-hmm. It happened from I was first came to America in the early 1960s. So I've been on the move. They got a gig in Detroit, the next week in Chicago, over here, blah, blah, wherever it was, I was on the move. And that was even when I was 18, 19 years old. So I've been constantly on the move. And I used to have a quiet thought. I said, one of these days, I want to have a vacation, right? So vacation would come every now and then, like a week or two. I would go to some Caribbean island, most likely Jamaica, where I'm from. But the next thing you know is I got a vacation. I wasn't planning on this vacation, so I don't want to sound flippant, but this is a time that I realized is a complete departure from my constant moving around the world. And I mean all over this world. So I'm enjoying to some extent, and of course regretting all the troubles. But we got to go through the troubles before we get to the better outcome. That's the way I look at it. And I do this thing now where, because I had such an adventurous past, I mean really, about my own comings and goings, but the amazing people that I had a lot of close relationships with, who are many of them musicians of the what we call the jazz world. And it started out in the early 60s when I played the piano for and with Frank Sinatra. So I was around Sinatra in a very good way, more than just passing by, you know, because I played at Jilly's where he used to hang out. That's where I met Miles Davis. Wow. I spent a lot of time with Miles Davis. I used to go to his house. He heard me play. He liked how I played. And he said, come on by the house. We're going to, blah, blah. So I started with that thought. And then all the legion of other people. And I started talking on Saturdays at 4 o'clock. It started still in February, I think, or early March. So up to now, I've done 15 episodes. Okay. The next one is coming on Saturday at 4 p.m. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. And I call it Reminiscing in Rhythm, or I might say Reminiscing in Rhythm, which is the Jamaican way of saying rhythm. Rhythm. And
rhythm. I love it.
It keeps me occupied because as the week, even today, I'm writing down, oh, yeah, tell them about when I hung out with Mary Lou Williams. Tell them about when I almost got into trouble and blah, blah. You know, all these little things that happen in the life of a musician, and not just piano playing and how to play that chord and all that. Because I never went to music school. Maybe I'm an outlier from the usual people of today, the gifted people of today. But my whole adventure just came from being around the older guys, watching them.
That knowledge passed down to you.
Exactly. Yes. The storytelling of human beings who liked me enough to invite me into their private little world. And that happened all the way back in Jamaica. Guys who were 10 years older than me. And I started recording in the studios. I knew what, and by the way, I appreciate when you said my lifelong passion with reggae. And I want to change that. It's my lifelong passion with Jamaica. Because the roots of this music is deeper than the roots of reggae. I mean, reggae is a branch.
Right.
The actual root is West Africa, and the rhythms that came from Africa and came to Jamaica in what's called calypso, mento, old-time music I grew up with.
So let's start there, because that's a great place to start. And thank you for letting us know about that video series on your YouTube channel. That's very cool. I encourage people watching, go check that out too, because Monty Alexander has stories, let me tell you. But the new album, Monty, Wareika Hill, Rastamonk Vibrations. Again, it's Monk through the lens of the music you love. Just like you said, Jamaican music, be that calypso, reggae, even into the contemporary stuff, dub. So let's take it there, Monty. Because you're an expert on this stuff, and I'd love to hear from you. Just kind of like a primer on the roots of modern Jamaican music.
I fell in love with music, 4 years old, playing piano. I would play whatever came to me. Children's songs, and I do this thing called make it up. I just make up my own little music, and I had a good ear, and that spoiled me when my parents said, you got to go to the piano teacher. And let me tell you, that was something I hated. I didn't want to go to the piano teacher, especially when the piano teach me after a couple of lessons started bopping me on my knuckles. Bam! You know, so I just got turned off the lessons or somebody teaching me. So I started to be my own teacher, because I love music, and I go to the piano and have fun with playing. Among the songs, the calypso tunes, the simple folk songs that we grew up with in Jamaica. And then while all that's going on, my mom and dad had some albums, records, back in the days of albums and vinyl, you know, which came back recently. And they'd be playing these recordings that they loved, you know, popular American songs, everything from popular country western artists or Mantovani strings, and you hear all these songs. But a big staple was Nat King Cole. When Nat King Cole started, then they'd get on the dance in the living room and start dancing. And I learned all these Nat King Cole songs just in my head. I didn't even know the names of them. But from 5, 6 years old, I'm playing Nat King Cole songs. Wow. So I got this steady diet of calypso, Jamaica, ethnic roots, rhythms. And my dad gave me an accordion. And I'd pump that thing when it was a drag if you're a little kid trying to pump the accordion. I would take that and go around to play with the musicians that were playing the calypsos for the tourists. So I got the calypso down in my blood. And all I had to do was morph that into when this recording started in Jamaica by producers who wanted to copy American rhythm and blues, but the Jamaican spirit, which came from this mento calypso thing, they call it mento.
Okay.
And it was all connected because I'm also digging Little Richard and Fats Domino and New Orleans music. We picked it up on the radio. So I got my New Orleans, my rhythm and blues. I'm getting my Jamaican folk music, and I'm getting the beautiful American songs, Nat King Cole and Bing Crosby. I'm hearing this. And then my number one hero, because we had an album called Ambassador Satch, Louis Armstrong. So I got Louis Armstrong, I got Nat Cole, and the piano players, little by little, man, a lot of people forgot name, Eddie Haywood, and then Errol Garner. And then I heard Mr. Jamal, who today is 90 years young.
That's right. It's his birthday today, July 2nd, Ahmad Jamal's birthday. Happy birthday.
And this man who blended all those elements, but in a clear way for a 15-year-old kid to hear and be totally smitten by the essence of what I was hearing, because it was more than music. It was magic. To me, it's music is music, but then there's a place where it hits magic. And that's what I've seeked all my life when I play, is connect to this thing called magic. I call it the moonbeam. Get on board the moonbeam bus and go to the stars. And that's what I do when I play. Because Brand, I don't know any music. I don't know any music. I can't read. I'm an exception to this wonderful world of academy. And I really mean it. And in the early days, my ears were enough to guide me through playing for other people. I played with a couple of great singers, Ernestine Anderson. I was once invited to be Ella Fitzgerald's accompanist, but I was scared because I don't read. So I'm gonna mess up the Queen, Ella Fitzgerald. Norman Granz himself invited me. So I've had all these possibilities, but little fear, I stayed away, created my own world. Thus far, 75 albums.
Yeah, I'd say.
Adventures, as we say, up the wazoo, brother.
That's right, man. Hey, you're being humble. You are a legend, Monty. And it sounds like from your background, Jamaica was just this perfect melting pot of cultures, and that explains so much of the music, because you did have obviously an African origin, and then you had a lot of European influence, and just like you said, during that time when you were growing up, the American, other Caribbean islands, and then you had the political influence that went into the kind of formation of reggae, right?
I wasn't so much aware of that at my age,
right?
Stage, and I grew up in what we might call a middle-class home.
Okay.
So I didn't go through the certain sufferings of people that were less fortunate than myself. But believe me, I had been a part of every aspect and strata of Jamaican society,
Right.
So I was exposed to so much of some real rich heritage, rich as ever, because Jamaica has some deep, deep roots there. And I was aware of things outside of just the music itself, people struggling to get a better life for themselves. And I was always a sense of being blessed to have what I had, and also the gift of being able to play music. Because one day, maybe I'm about 12 years old, 13, 14, I'm playing at some club, jamming with some musicians, everybody drinking the rum, and I'm in there just like I'm part of the thing. And the guy offers me a gig, offered me a job. Out of all of this, I get paid to go play the piano in some club in Jamaica, and then another bar, and then another place, and this. I had a school band. Yeah. So I'm a professional. Why am I a professional? Because I'm getting paid. And that's been the whole journey. And I never really, the school that I went to is, I get a little kick when I say it, is the school of life.
That's
and the
right.
The street corner university, being around those other guys, hearing those stories as you identified. And when I came to America, I had to adapt somewhat, not just in the music, but how I presented myself to my peers, the musicians. And I learned to try to talk like them. So I put on the American accent a little bit. And I started to talk a little like this. And when I talk like this, that would stop this most annoying thing when people constantly say, "Where you from, man? Where you from? You got an accent." I say, "Man, you got an accent too. I don't care what you say."
That's right. That's
Brian,
right.
you got an accent.
Hey, that's right. We all do. That's exactly right, man. But yeah, I'd love to talk about you making that leap, because the first place you came was Miami, right?
Came to
Which is my
Miami.
neck of the woods.
There
Yeah.
was a family breakup. My mother said, we're going to go to America, land of opportunity, land where dreams come true. And I had dreams. I would be a kid going to the movie theater, the cinema. We said in Jamaica, pictures, gone pictures. And I love Saturday matinees to see the Cowboys. The shoot 'em ups, we call them. Roy Rogers, Gene Archer. And that's some of the first music I heard. So I got my cowboy music, you know. I got my yodeling, I'll be yodeling and everything.
Yeah, a man of many talents here, Monty.
Right. So the whole thing is one big ball of musical joy. You see what I'm saying?
I see.
And there never be a political statement, because to me, the music was also a balm, a salve for the suffering that human beings had. Because I saw when I played, most times people start being happy. So my music was making people, especially me, happy. And I've been told that that's what I do when I play, bring smiles. May not be all that sophisticated intellectual knowledge about chords.
It is both, Monty. Let me tell you, it is both heart and soul you speak to. And it's funny, you know, John Schofield told me something very similar with regard to all the musicians and the music, you know, just being, you know, just crossed over and shared. He said musicians have always been crossing over. This is not a new phenomenon. Every musician throughout history has been crossing over. Despite what's been going on in any political system in any country ever, it's always been musicians who have been cross-pollinating, sharing, you know, promoting each other's work, getting into each other's genres. There's a lot of exchange of ideas in music. And, you know, you were absolutely a product of that, man. And yeah, I remember last time we talked, you had this great story about coming to Miami, of playing for a certain impersonator at a jazz club in Miami, right? And that's kind of what got the ball started rolling for you?
I was already in Miami for about a year.
Okay.
I'm a kid. I'm just barely legal to be in the clubs. Then I had getting my green card, you know.
Right.
And you had to get the musician's union card, and went through some people who had been in show business saw me and said, hey, we could get this kid on Ed Sullivan. If you remember the Ed Sullivan show, it was an entertainment program every Sunday. They had all the top stars, and I was going to be the little kid at the piano, you know. And they started getting me bookings around the Miami Beach. And I'm playing with the older guys, all the seasoned musicians who come. And in those days, it's about swinging. It's about taking the paint off the walls, as we used to say. It's about giving joy. It's about me revisiting what Louis Armstrong did, which was make everybody happy. So I'm playing in the bars where sometimes the gangsters were there. That was the environment I was in. And we used to call them the hookers. They're at the bar. Okay. So there I am up there having the time of my life, believe me. And one gig I got after having played at a few places where you saw these, I call them colorful individuals, who took me and said, hey kid, I like how you play those kids, how you tickle those ivories, and I like how you play in between the cracks, you know, all these joking things.
Yeah.
But I'm around Miami, which was a hotbed of, bluntly speaking, racial issues, because you had Black Miami situation where I was most of the time in what was called Overtown,
Liberty City, yeah.
You know that, and that's where I would be, and I would be at the Sir John where Jackie Wilson and Sam Cooke and Brooke Benton and all these guys, but also there was a jazz group, and there were most of the African American guys. The guys on the beach were the other folks who admired the guys in Overtown, right? But I'm with everybody. Why? Because I come from Jamaica, and Jamaica is this place where people are blended, and this goes into that thing called ethnic origin. And it took me years to realize that I am one of these guys. I like that phrase, wondrous variety, meaning my heritage is this, that, there's like some of this, some of that, and I'm proud of that, because I said, what the hell am I, when people would say. And wondrous variety, and Jamaica is that. This thing, America e pluribus unum, one out of many one. So I'm blending with everybody. You know that great piece of music Duke Ellington wrote, black, brown, and beige.
Love it.
I'm the beige guy. You can't put your finger on it. So listen, it's not what you're asking me about, but it dovetails into the worlds of where people feel that they belong, right?
It does.
There was a lot of separation.
And how you can communicate that on the bandstand. That's something you communicate.
That's right.
The sense of everyone belonging.
So I can't put my finger on it, but it's a magical thing when it happens. And okay, back to what you asked me. So one night I'm playing on the 79th Street Causeway. Le Bistro was the name of this place, and Lenny Bruce had been there the previous week, the great comedian.
Wow.
The guy who got himself into a lot of trouble because he wouldn't cater to properness.
Right,
He
proper
said
speech.
whatever he wanted.
Right.
And I remember the police at the door waiting for him to say something irreverent so they could take him to the joint.
Wow.
And I remember he picked me up at the bus stop on a couple of occasions because he saw me, and he was very friendly with the jazz musicians.
Yes.
Lenny. And I saw him during that phase when he was, substance abuse. I saw that.
Yeah.
And he was there. That gig ended. Then came an entertainer who was an impressionist.
Right.
And his number one impression was Frank Sinatra. So he's in that showroom, and I'm in the bar playing with my little combo.
Okay. And
he would do Sinatra. And one night, an entertainer that was performing at the Fontainebleau Hotel, the big hotel, was Frank Sinatra. And Sinatra and a group of his friends came to Le Bistro to see this guy who was imitating him. So the feeling I got was that when this artist saw when Sinatra came in, he may have had a little bit of a nervous experience, right?
Yeah, you'd think. So
to get to the point, somebody from that room where his entertainer was doing his Sinatra bit came in and saw me burning on the piano. And I've got the hair on my head and I'm swinging and the place is jumping. And they said, "Hey, kid," when the break came, "where'd you learn to play like that?" But I don't know. I can play like that. I want you to meet somebody. So he takes me over to the table in the other room, and I met Frank Sinatra. Sinatra was here listening to me play with his friend Jilly Rizzo. And it was he was like, "Hey, kid, I like what you're doing. You should be in New York." And that wasn't the end of the story because I didn't take advantage. I was not this kind of guy to take advantage of the opportunities, what you do when you're an artist or in music or showbiz, you get a call and I didn't do that. So I sat back like an idiot, I didn't know how to take advantage. But 6 months later, I was in Las Vegas playing in an old-time orchestra led by a man named Art Mooney. And Art Mooney's claim to fame was the hit song at the time, "I'm Looking Over a Four-Leaf Clover." That was a big hit. And he had me, he wanted me to play in his band because he had a hotel in Florida, in Hollywood, Florida, and he had music there, and they hired me to play there, and I had to play behind a belly dancer named Princess Naila. And believe me, Princess Naila was kind of gorgeous. I'm playing the songs, and she's dancing, and man, that was a hell of a time for me, So I'm playing in Vegas, and one more time comes Jilly and his friend Sinatra. And somebody said, there's that little guy again, me. And that sealed it because 3 days later, few days later, they sent me an airline ticket, and I got off the plane at LaGuardia. The next night, I'm playing at Jilly's, and that's how I came to New York. So it wasn't to go to a music school. So this is a magical story, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, to be playing for a Frank Sinatra impersonator, and then in walks Frank Sinatra.
Right. And
6 months later, takes you under his wing.
So I'm just saying, what's going on here, Because I can swing a melody, and make it work. That's how I got in there. And then I started playing at Jilly's, and I had made friends with the great bass player, Bob Cranshaw, when he had come to Miami with Joe Williams, the singer. And I remember that was one of the guys. The other one was Roland Hanna when he came to play with Al Hibbler, who was singing with Duke Ellington. So I got all these phone numbers, and I come to New York, and I called Bob. I said, "Bob, hey, next thing you know, Bob is playing with me at Jilly's, and Mickey Roca, his friend, is drumming with me, or Al Harewood, all these salt-of-the-earth musicians. They weren't famous on the front line, but they're making the music right. They're playing on these Blue Note albums for Lee Morgan, for Wayne Shorter, all these. So those are Tony Williams came to play with me because Miles heard me playing and must have put the seal of approval. And he told Tony, who was living upstairs, renting an apartment from him, "Tony, go play with Monty Alexander." Wow. Because Tony was damn near 18, my age, six months apart.
Right.
Williams came to play with me. I got Roy Haynes reminded me when I saw him one day not too long ago, man, you remember I came and played with Jilly's because it was such a fast life. Because believe you me, Brian, there was excitement and danger, and colorful people that were living on the edge. You know what I mean?
Yes, in the showbiz life. But it sounds like Jilly's was a hub.
It was a hub,
music, and that's how you connected them.
Because Sinatra was the chairman of the board, the king of showbiz, and Sinatra put the seal on it. Yeah, man, you're there. And all these other wannabe entertainers wanted to be around him. And he would come in there with one of his favorite people, Count Basie. He'd be sitting there with Basie, and they're drinking away. Lockjaw Davis is at the bar, and I'm meeting all these people. So it's like, and I called it royalty. Those are the royalty of
they really were
early 60s. You see,
they really were. And, you know, even in New York, it's impossible to overstate the influence, the Caribbean influence, and specifically Jamaican influence on the jazz that developed there. Because in Harlem, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, so many of the musical icons, you know, your Sonny Rollinses that would go on to create this music had Jamaican or Caribbean heritage.
Big time. Big time. That became that subject that was always interested in, needless to say, right? You mean you from over there? Wow, you know, with fast friends because we get along. And I knew, for example, the great icon of all piano players at the time, among others, was Oscar Peterson.
Right.
Oscar Peterson, oh, he's from Canada. Yeah, but his mom and dad are from Barbados and St. Kitts and Virgin Islands and all these islands. So when I would see Oscar, we'd start talking like Jamaican people and island people, West Indian man. So we thought, you know. Yeah. And the other one was Sonny, because I got to know, I played for Sonny too on a few occasions, right? And the list of guys that have that Caribbean heritage that became a valid part of what was happening in what became bebop. You know? Yep. And one of the main characters was none other than Mr. Monk.
That's right.
He grew up in a West Indian neighborhood in New York from the age of 5. He came from North Carolina, Rocky Mount, and his parents came to New York. They moved to a neighborhood called San Juan Hill, which is where Lincoln Center is now. Mm-hmm. And there were poor people living there, and a lot of them were the West Indians. So, you know, he grew up hearing that calypso on the radio and record player. And when I hear some of his tunes, and I used to say, man, that's got an island beat to it. And the funny way he would play the piano. Because when I heard Monk, I started laughing my head off. When I heard Monk, he made me laugh. Made me
at first? Yeah. That was just
I didn't know the great musician. I never had that attitude. I said, that's Monk, man. Monk is a character. Yeah. And that character that he is, the things he would say, he put it on the piano. You know? So,
very cool.
So that's what made me make this album, because
it's
it was
a perfect
one way
segue, right?
for me to correlate these worlds that are so conflicted to many people, but they're not when you're a guy like me, you know?
Yeah. So let's talk about it. And I understand you just released, this came out last year. But there's a new LP version out now, correct?
If you don't mind, I got the album. It just came, got the vinyl, and it's on my, here I go with the PR thing.
I love
it. But this is called Wareika Hill, Rastamonk Vibrations, and it is my version of deeply trying to connect Monk to a reason why he made the music the way he did, because he had the social gathering of a lot of West Indian friends. Sonny Rollins told me that he and Monk and Denzel Best would go to Madison Square Gardens to see Sugar Ray Robinson fight. Sonny, I know Sonny. He was sharing that with me. The point is, they were friends. These guys were all hanging out. They were buddies. You could see them in the back room talking, hey man, try this chord, try that note. Everybody was like camaraderie. And that's what became our jazz, you know. Mittens was a Jamaican, Mr. Henry Minton, who opened that bar up on 114th Street, I guess.
Oh, really? Minton Which was where the jams would take place, you know, that eventually gave birth to bebop. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I mean, there's always been a Caribbean and Jamaican kind of strain running through this music. But what I love about this new album is that you really, you know, make it obvious, you know, you really kind of, and I'm wondering if you can touch on some of those aspects that you heard in Monk the first time around that made you realize, ooh, you know, this does kind of have a little bit of a calypso vibe to it.
I'm sitting next to my Yamaha piano.
Okay, that's right, you are a Yamaha.
I just had it tuned, and I was wondering, do I really get this thing tuned now with all the virus going on? And I found a very reliable individual. He came over and he did a marvelous job. And okay. My wife usually says, don't talk about it. But about 8 years ago, Monty Alexander had a stroke. I had a stroke. Oh, boy, left arm. So I don't have that daring hit every note right. So I'm a little careful when I do my left hand thing. But I'll have a go at, trying to remember that tune. Which one? Well, You Need. When I heard Well, You Need it. Right?
Yeah. it is.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Calypso rhythm. Calypso
that
rhythm.
bounce in the left hand, yes, it's a calypso rhythm that lends naturally to this melody.
Right. So I took Brilliant Corners, one of his classic pieces, and I put Rastafarian Nyabingi beat to it. That feeling when I heard
hip, man.
Right next to my house, the Wareika Hill was a lane going up to the hill where the Rastafarians would go to praise and worship Jah.
Okay.
And I would smell the ganja at night and the wood that would burn. And that was in the early days of the Rastas movement coming up, because the society of Jamaica were looking down on these people that were off to the side because they came up with their own valid religious direction, right? They got it from the Bible, the Old Testament, and they were more aligned to the early Jewish philosophies, the 12 tribes.
Yep.
So Rastaman, they said there's a scripture that says the weed of wisdom. Go ahead and smoke it. The Bible says smoke the weed, not literally. So they would be smoking, the fire burning, and they would beat what we call Nyabingi. And that rhythm was a part of what ended up being reggae. And that's what you hear in hip hop. That's what you hear in funky music in African American styles of music. You hear the Jamaican beat strong as ever. And I heard that growing up, and that's what Bob Marley exposed when he wrote those songs. A lot of the songs he wrote come from this deep-rooted African expression.
Being a beat. Yeah. Oh, that makes so much sense, because now that you mention it, DJ Kool Herc, who was is thought of as the godfather of hip hop, throwing those house parties in the Bronx, also Jamaican. So yeah, and it sounds like, just like you're saying, those reggae artists, the Bob Marley's, they kind of stripped it to its core, and it was a statement of pride in their Jamaican heritage. And yeah, man, it is so cool to hear what you did on this album. So really, I encourage everybody listening, go check out Wareika Hill. Go buy it. So is this new LP available now? Yeah,
it's available, and apparently it's only on my website, which is www.montyalexander.com, and you can get an autographed copy from yours truly with pleasure.
Hey,
so that's this thing I did. I mean, this is the 76th. Interesting, because that's my birthday. I'm 76 now.
Oh, wow.
June 6th. But I was reminded by Katerina, my missus, that that's how we do it today.
Okay, on the website. Very cool. It's a great way to just stay up to date on everything Monty Alexander. And if people want to check out again this video series you're doing, where you're just reminiscing, and talking about again the amazing stories. The guy knows everybody. Monty Alexander knows everybody. Miles, Frank. So his stories for days. They want to check that out. That's on your YouTube page, huh?
It's on the YouTube and Facebook. And it's called Reminiscing in Rhythm, something a little sophisticated. But the point is that I'm just talking, I call it Monty's Big Mouth. That's it. That's the other version, right? But the thing I'm excited about, because it's another, let's call it reference to my Jamaican life, early Jamaican life, that I recorded some songs where Monty's singing. Ooh. It's a whole album where I took
very cool
songs by some of our favorite artists, and I put the rhythms of Jamaica behind them.
Oh, nice.
And that's going to come. And I actually played a few tracks on my other program, and I've been getting people writing in. So when is that coming out? When's that coming out? So it's excited. It's a kind of songs that Nat gave us, And by the way, today is 3 days after one of my dear friends, the brother of Nat, Freddie Cole, passed away.
Cole. Yes.
So Freddie and the Cole family, I got to know them. I recorded with Natalie Cole when she made Unforgettable. So I did some of those songs. But it's as if Nat was on the beach having a pina colada. That's right. It's like Monk in Harlem, but Rasta. bringing us together.
That's right. That's what you do best, man. That's what you've been doing for decades,
man. America's supposed to be that. All of us from different worlds, and we come together. And next thing you know, we married the girl from another part of the world. Next thing the kids come, that's America. It's what's supposed to be. This idea of pure, perfect is a far gone conclusion. I mean, anybody holding out with that, it's good that you think that way, but it ain't good because that's not the world now. We got to adapt.
That's so true, man. And that is a perfect note to end on, man. Monty, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, the new album, Wareika Hill, is out now. People, go buy it. It's excellent. Thanks for having a drink with me, Monty. I appreciate it.
Right now, I'm going to go look for a bottle of rum.
There you go. Maybe then one day, you know, in the future, when this is all behind us, maybe we'll have one in person, man. That would be great.
It's fun being with you, Brian. Thanks for your good talk.
Likewise, Monty. Have a good one.
All right, man.
Take care. Bye. Wow. Thank you to Monty Alexander, a real piano legend, for walking us through kind of the history of Jamaican music and how it has intertwined with jazz really since the beginning. The new album, Wareika Hill, Rastamonk Vibrations, is out right now, and that LP version, go pick it up on Monty's site because, oh man, what a treat to put that on the turntable, pour yourself a bottle of rum, and have a great evening. Hey, just want to remind everybody, starting Monday, July 6th, we will be going completely live. So this will be happening live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page. This is jazz. It's live, it's spontaneous and improvised. I hope you'll join us. All right, I am going to close down the bar here, but you don't have to go. You don't. Let me see if I can remember this phrase. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I'm Brian Zimmerman. See you next time.